changes of power throughout the years. For the last 25 years, the redistribution of economic power among the world's greatest power has been highly unprecedented. This process accelerated during the 2008 financial crisis. During this time, China, which was once 1/8 of the USA's economy, is now roughly the same size as USA's. Several countries show big improvements, such as India, for instance, which has posted over 6% in their domestic product growth for more than 30 years and over 8% in the first decade of the century. The other side of this phenomenon is the relatively decline of the West. Countries in the West, such as Latin America and other countries, their global output share has dropped significantly. The shift in economic power has not been painless for anyone. Every economic power has undergone some form of economic readjustment. For example, the United States is transitioned to an energy and innovation economy. While China is seeking domestic sources of future growth and consumption, while India is preoccupied with building infrastructure, urbanization, and industrialization, while Japan and Western Europe are trying to rediscover sources of economic growth, while Russia seeks to adjust to new energy market conditions and an aging and shrinking population, and so on. In the military and technological domains, the USA is still the most feared competitor. But at the same time, other countries have also been improving their military capacities. In consequence, every state or every country has now a powerful state in terms of military dominance in battlefield superiority. In some, power is now more evenly distributed in the international system. No one is more powerful than another country. They have different qualities in which they are more powerful in this kind of situation. This being said, with even powers within countries, conflict is therefore most acute along the periphery of great powers that are at least integrated into the Western-led political order. This results to different big powers like China being competitive with USA, and Russia being also head-to-head with USA, and this has many advantages and disadvantages to these countries, and also to other countries which are mostly dependent to the economies of these countries.
Let's talk about what power means and how it means in terms of political science, globalization, and more. So power, based on its conceptual definition, is the capacity to influence others or events. In terms of political science, it is the possession of strength. In terms of globalization, it is a military capabilities, economic strength and natural resources, and the capacity to transform these assets into influence. So given those three definitions of power, we can conclude that power is all about superiority towards a minority, and hierarchy is evident. Thus, we can conclude that the more that you're on top, the more power that you have. However, others define power as an illusion people get when they get obeyed. Thus, it is more of a social construct and it doesn't really exist, since power may be just granted to a person by someone else. So, given those definitions of power, we need to ask these questions. How do we consider a country or a state powerful? What countries are powerful, and is it really necessary for a country to obtain a lot of power? These questions, or guide questions rather, will guide us better to understand power and how relevant it is to other countries around the globe.
So how do we consider a country or a state powerful? We can determine that the country is powerful when they have economic power and military power. So sa economic power, in-include ko yung 5 important na elements. The first one would be yung population. So theoretically, sinasabi nila na kapag there is a big population sa isang country, mas nagiging productive kasi more people produces more goods. Like for example, sa China and the Japan, they are known as the most populated na country. But kilala rin sila na nagtatop sa in terms of economy kasi they have this human power. But there are also factors like for example sa Ukraine and the Spain, they have the same na population but mas productive yung Ukraine kasi sa Spain they have a high illiteracy rate or yung population. Kaya nagiging factor din yung education. So second would be yung higher education. So sa higher education, ang fundamental element siya sa economic power kasi dito nabubuo yung mga workers for the country na kaya magsilbi in terms of economy. Next po yung natural resources. So we know that in every country, it is very important na meron silang natatanging natural resources kasi it is nagiging means of living ngayon. Like for example, sa Dubai, they have the 20% of oil. So yun nangyayari. They become the leading oil exporter ever since. And also, yung mga natural resources kasi, they are the raw inputs for manufacturing yung mga products in the world. Kaya in every country talagang pinapahalagahan nila when they have this kind of natural resources na sa kanila lang nakikita or sila lang yung may maraming supply. Sumunod po yung geography. So, nandyan po yung size, yung topography, yung climate change, and yung boundary. So, it matters directly for growth po, sa economic growth, kasi we find, and also based on the readings, na meron siyang mga effects, like for example, sa income, tapos sa mga agricultural productivity ng isang country, nagmamatter yung location. Like for example, kung yung geographical region is not conducive for modern economic growth, nagiging resulting siya ng poverty or other consequences pa for the country, which is nahihirapan na mag-develop pa yung country. And lastly, yung culture kasi it is the fountain of productivity and creativity kasi it defines who we are. So, kung ano yung dala-dala natin na learnings and yung buong culture natin, yun yung nagiging ways bakit yung isang country is productive. So, by having an economic power po, yung isang country could develop more than just yung mga products, but also the army. So, doon na po pumapasok yung military power. So, lagi siya naka-base sa economic power kasi doon nanggagaling yung mga expenses. And yung military power is very important to a country kasi sila ito yung nagpo-protect against sa mga other countries.
The powerful countries are Norway, Australia, United States of America, Netherlands, and Germany. Education does not only increase employment for economic growth, but also it helps us eradicate what we consider is the main cause of poverty, which is corruption. Education produces students with both morals and values. So to support this, according to Tirana, she stated that education is the youth success with pressure in forcing them to accept bribes. Third is the property rights. So it is a law that should be strongly implemented in a certain country, which helps the citizen prove that they own a property, which also gives them potential in starting a business or starting a capital. Many businesses leads to development, which is very unlike here in the Philippines na once you can prove that that property is your own, regardless of how many years you have stayed there, they will take it away from you, and sometimes they will sell it to large businesses or industries. Lastly is the lack of freedom. According to George Washington, the root of rapid growth is liberty, which is actually being deprived in the people of North Korea.
In summary, to be considered a powerful country, one must have stable economic growth, and also, power has a lot of meaning. Meaning, one country can be called powerful in its own. Like for our example, China. They are powerful in terms of population, so that they can produce a lot of goods that can be sold to other countries, like the Apple. They are the one who assembled everything for the iPhone, and then they give it back to Apple, and then Apple will sell it to other countries. And lastly is the most powerful country in the world is, of course, USA, because as you can see, USA is a very stable country. It is ranked as a first world country because of its economic growth, the power, the population, the everything. They are the superior in everything. That's why they are called the most powerful country. That's all.